Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, welcome to my channel. My name is Stephanie Anya, Steph Anya for short, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing some of the top ground rules to consider when you're dealing with a blended family. If you're curious, stay tuned. What's on your mind? So I asked a question on Instagram about any family dynamics that you all wanted me to cover in a video, and I got so many responses. So first, thank you for sharing the things that would interest you most, the things that you would find the most helpful or useful. And one of the top things that I saw was revolving around blended families. So first, let's describe a blended family for anyone who may not know. A blended family typically means that you have partners who are together and you have one or more children from previous relationships that are now being combined into a new family unit with those partners. Blended family dynamics have a lot of different meanings and can look a lot of different ways and experience a lot of different conflict or issue struggles within them. In today's video, I'm going to be specifically talking about how to manage the dynamic between parents, that's both the step parent and biological or primary parent, as well as the children. Okay, we'll be talking about the do's and don'ts of blended families. So there are other issues you could encounter, like child-to-child issues within a blended family dynamic, issues with co-parenting. We can discuss those things in a separate video if you'd like, just let me know. So let's get started. When we talk about blended family dynamics, I see people at all stages of blended family. Sometimes I'm working with a couple who is blending their families. Sometimes you got both partners with kids, only one partner with kids. Sometimes I'm working with the teen who's part of a blended family or a kid whose parent is dating. I see it from all different stages and angles. And these are some of the common issues that are brought to me. And here are some of the solutions that have been helpful for my clients as we try to navigate the best way to create one unified family. First thing I want you to think about is that some recent statistics have shown that over 40% of American families are blended. So that lets you know that we are in a period of time where we're going to be encountering the beauty of blended families as well as the struggles of blended families more and more. So I want to jump right into the biggest error that I see. One of the biggest don'ts that I see with blended families is an overemphasis on garnering respect for the step parent when it comes to the step children. Here's why. A person comes into the family and there is this expectation that the children are going to hold them in the same regard as the biological parent who left or the biological parent who's within the home. And that respect is a lot of times earned through the tactic of fear. Okay, so I'm going to spank you, or you won't be able to have such and such device, in a way to fast track the respect element of a blended family. When we overemphasize respect, we are not paying attention to the importance of creating that emotional bond first. So when you talk about blended family and parent dynamics, there are two things to think about. You have the corrective parent and then the contributory parent, okay? When it comes to parenting, you want the corrective parent to mostly be that parent that the child is used to, because this parent is more familiar with the established norms within the family. The contributory parent should be the step parent. This is the person who just maybe helps to reinforce the rules and expectations that the biological parent or primary parent has already established within the home, but they are not creating new rules at this step, okay? In the earliest stages of blending a family, you do not want that step parent to be the primary disciplinarian, because it can get in the way of building that emotional bond. Think of it this way for my adults. If you're working at a job and you've been there for 5-10 years, then you get a new boss. And this new boss wants to come in and change everything that you're accustomed to. Okay, so I know you guys work from home on Fridays, but I think it'd be better if we all just stayed in the office every day so that way we can get to know each other. I know you guys like to dress down, but let's go ahead and put a little bit more formality into how everyone is dressing, just so that we can really build on that business culture here, right? They might have the best of reasons and they might be absolutely right, but the fact of the matter is that you are now associating this person with major changes, right? And change is very uncomfortable for humans unless we're in a place that we are very dissatisfied with our lives. And even when we are dissatisfied with our lives, change is one of the most difficult things to navigate. It's one of the first things that we are trained to look for when we're starting to work with the family, individual, or couple. What are major transitions that you all have made recently? Because that normally is going to be the onset, or when we see an exacerbation of symptoms presented within that person. So if you are associating yourself with major change in the family, you could actually be hindering the potential for more emotional depth. So focus first on building that emotional bond before you start focusing on the disciplinarian element of parenting. So what does this mean? If there is a disagreement about how things should be handled within the family, that biological or primary parent should be the person who is having the final say in what is done with those kids. The reason that is important is because that parent has the knowledge of what these kids are accustomed to. Maybe you both agree that there should be some changes. Maybe you're seeing some behavioral issues that need to be addressed. And maybe you as the step parent have some phenomenal ideas that have worked with your kids, for example, that you would like to try. But that biological parent should have the final say if there are any disagreements. And I know people, depending on the type of family structure you like, head of the household, gender norms, things like that, it can be difficult. But if you're looking to really have a successful blended family, this is what research shows is the most effective way to start integrating those families. There will be a time where you are the disciplinarian, right? But the beginning stages are usually not the best time to start exerting that role. The next tip is to make sure that you are maintaining an open dialogue with the children about how this change impacts their lives. One major error that I see is that parents overemphasize the happiness or joy they're feeling at having a new partner, and they underemphasize the impact on the child. I've heard many parents say to kids, "Oh, you just don't want me to be happy," or "this is happening, so you need to get on board." That type of messaging that basically is saying, "Hey, I pay the bills and this is my life. You're gonna have to get used to it." But that is communicating to the child right away that this change means that my opinion no longer matters. And we start seeing resistance from the kids because they feel like, hey, nobody cares if something's affecting or bothering me. So even if that child is sharing things with you and you are like, there's nothing I can do about that, I am at a point where I want to be with this person, you can at least validate their experiences, empathize with them and say, yeah, it's really hard to have to share a house with somebody. Or yeah, it's really hard to have to get to know these other kids. And it's weird to think that you might have new sisters and brothers one day. You do not want to downplay the emotional impact of these changes on the children. Those things are difficult for a child to wrap their mind around. So maintaining an open dialogue and basically letting them know that whatever they share with you is not going to be held against them. You're not going to take it personally and say, oh, now you're just trying to get in the way of my happiness. It is hard, and it's very exciting for the parent when they finally have a person that is willing to accept them and their children into their life. But when that child is having struggles, it's very, very critical that they know that they still matter and that you are concerned about their emotional well-being. So make sure that open dialogue, check in with them. If they seem like they're shutting down, talk about it. Say, it seems like lately you've been staying in your room a lot more. You've been quiet. Is everything okay? Do you miss me? Those are things that are really, really important to pay attention to. Both parents should be prioritizing that, but especially the parent that this child has been raised by. They should not feel a shift in your allegiance and feel that their feelings no longer matter to you. There can be so many changes that are associated with a blended family. So thinking about if the kid had to change schools, if they now have new people they're living with, if they are in a position where they have to meet new grandparents, they may feel like they're being disloyal to their other parent, whoever they're no longer living with, if they make a bond with the step parent. So keeping in mind that these changes can be very, very significant for their lifestyle, especially you talk about 7, 8, 9, 10, 15 years old, this is probably going to be one of the more significant adjustments that they have to make. So maintaining that open dialogue lets you know that you get it and you know it's not going to be easy and that you're in their corner. Consider getting a therapist for the kids, for the family as a whole, for you all as a couple. Having a space where you can talk about the very real stressors that everyone inevitably will probably deal with as you make this merge is a really good idea. I find that when I am working with people, there can be so much that's at play here, whether it's they came up in a blended family or maybe their parents were together their whole life and they don't know how to navigate a blended family. Having some additional support, another set of ears, especially when we get into like parenting conflict, or if you're talking about you have a kid whose behavior has significantly or abruptly changed since you made these adjustments to the family structure, it can be good to get another opinion, professional view on what's going on. This is one of those things where when families are proactive about getting some help in place before the issues arise, that's where I can see the most success. But if you're already at the point where you're having issues, it's never too late. Another thing you want to really think about, especially if you are the step parent, is to have that quality time with the kid. Now, you don't want to ever force a child into spending time with someone they're not comfortable with, right? That sends a message that could have very dangerous implications in the future. But you do want to let them know that the invitation is open and you're there for them. It's beautiful to have family events together. That is awesome. But it's extremely important to remember the value of that one-on-one time. You want to think about things that you all have in common. So maybe you loved comic books when you were a kid, or maybe you guys like the same anime show, or maybe you have a favorite color in common, candy, whatever the case may be. Find something that bonds just the two of you, something that can be your thing, and start building on that. That way you all have this point of connection where when something happens, they associate it first with you, even over their biological or primary parent. This is the best way for you to start creating that emotional intimacy that we were talking about earlier. Because if we focus first on the disciplinarian element, it can take away from your potential to have a really solid, long-term, long-lasting bond. So quality time between the step parent and kid, very important. And also remember to have that quality time between the primary parent and kid as well. There are multiple kids. You could do a date with everyone, but I find the one-on-one time to be really, really beneficial for everyone. Figuring out how can we still have our relationship. Let them know that even though I'm in this relationship with a new person, or I'm married, or we have this new household and I have new kids, whatever the case may be, you are still a priority for me. I still enjoy spending time with you. Making sure you have those dates set. And the strongest families that I see with the blended family dynamic actually have these kind of things set up monthly or quarterly, depending on how many kids you have, where the kid actually knows the date and time for this time that they're going to be able to spend time with their favorite person. So you want to have it set up where your child knows that you are thinking about them and that their time with you is not going to be overly significantly compromised by this new person that's in both of your lives. To me, this last one is the most important thing for you to think about. Include your children in your decision-making process as much as possible. Now, we don't want to overemphasize a child's maturity and their ability to make life-altering decisions, but we also don't want to underestimate the perception that the child may have that their opinion doesn't matter. So what you want to do, let's say if you've been dating and you're at the point where you guys are about to get engaged, give this child the opportunity to feel that they are giving their blessing. For example, maybe take them with you ring shopping, depending on if they can keep a secret, those type of things. It can be small choices like, what should our next outing be? What should we all do together? To things like, what are they comfortable calling the step parent? One thing that I hate to see is when a stepchild is forced to call their step-parent mom, dad, whatever the case may be, because they might not be comfortable with that. And if they start feeling that sense of angst or anxiety every time they have to say a name that they're uncomfortable with, then that definitely is going to impact their ability to connect with that person. But if you ask them what they're comfortable calling them, and then you all talk and decide if that is something you're comfortable being called, I really think that can help so much in terms of just them knowing that you guys care about their comfort levels and allowing the possibility to grow. There may be a day where they feel more comfortable calling you mom or dad, but today may not be that day, and that's okay. If you're about to buy a new house, give them an opportunity to see what room they're interested in having. Giving your kids some sort of influence, letting them know that it does matter to you what they think, even in times where you can't meet every accommodation. I mean, every accommodation is not going to be able to be satisfied. Explaining to them why and saying, oh, you know, this room is going to be for us because this is the biggest room and it has a connected bathroom, and we want all the kids to be able to come hang out with us and watch movies, for example. Giving them some sort of reason. What I see happening a lot of times is that the kid is usually going to have a little bit of resistance. You see some behavioral issues and they start to become a nuisance for you. It seems like this child is directly getting in the way of this happy, joyful time of your life to be in this new relationship, or maybe it's a long-standing relationship that's just moving to the next level. If that child feels like they're a nuisance, they will continue to fulfill that role. If you can make it where that child knows that they have some sort of influence over your choices, that you're considering them each step of the way, you will encounter less resistance. Even if on the outset, maybe you're still dealing with behavioral issues, on the inside, they know that you care about them. Because as soon as that child feels like they no longer matter to you, that's when we really start seeing the resistance. So those are some ground rules for blended families. And I want you all to let me know below if I missed something. If you're in a blended family that's working really well and you found something that was very helpful, please put that in the comments below. And if there's something here that you did and that worked well for you, share that too. I want to know what is working so that I can continue helping my clients and that we can help each other within this beautiful community that we've created. I think that the idea of blended families can be really beautiful, and I've seen some that have literally brought me to tears to just see the connection that is possible when we put in that effort, when we humble ourselves, let go of our ego and empathize with one another. Beautiful connections can be created through these blended families. Remember, in the beginning, it's going to be a little bit more focused on just building that emotional intimacy. You don't want to bribe kids, but you want to emphasize quality time. You want to empathize with their emotions, validate their feelings. You want to do those things before you overemphasize discipline. And once you get that emotional bond, how do you know you got the emotional bond? Once that child feels like something is happening for them that might be overwhelming, scary, exciting, and you're one of the first people that they're coming to, that is going to be your indication that there is an emotional bond forming between you and that kid. At that point, you can start transitioning more into becoming a more corrective parent instead of only contributory. But in the beginning, be patient. Just support your partner as they continue to parent their kids and re-emphasize whatever rules they've already established. Over time, you guys can start evolving, shifting, and functioning as a joint parenting unit. I hope you guys found this video helpful. Again, my name is Stephanie Yates Anyabwile, Steph Anya for short. I ask that you like this video, share it with some friends, subscribe to the channel, please, and turn on the bell notification. And I really appreciate you for watching this video all the way until the end. You didn't have to, and it helps me so much. So thank you.